Ladies and gentlemen, let's continue our conference, and our next invited speaker is the Vice Rector for Research and Innovation of our university, Leonas Balaševičius, and he is going to talk about some challenges in the field of research and innovation, and the title of presentation is Reinforcing Research and Innovation in Higher Education Institutions. So, Leonas, the virtual stage is yours.
Hello to everyone. It's my great pleasure to be invited speaker at the conference Electronics 2021. My background is electrical engineer. I made a PhD in informatics technology and control. And my research interests are related with automation, digital control, and robotics. The topic of today's my presentation is related with our university experience by implementing the European Universities Network initiatives. So the outline of my presentation will consist of the short introduction of Kaunas University of Technology, the opportunities which gives to us the pandemic, how we need to use these opportunities. Next, what could be the strategy for universities if we would like to dynamically adapt to the changing situation. The next one, I would like very shortly to present the European Universities initiatives and the one of consortia where Kaunas University of Technology is participating, and later to discuss the challenges, how we're facing the challenges in research, in innovation, and a little bit in learning in this case. And of course, what makes a good challenge, how we are going to embed that challenge into research and innovation, and how we could try to solve the challenge. So, first of all, I would like to start from introducing the Kaunas innovation ecosystem, because I'm from Kaunas University of Technology. So in Kaunas, we have 4 universities. So these are the main key actors at Kaunas innovation ecosystem: 1 research institute, 2 science, research and business center. So it's Santaka Valley and Nemunas Valley. And of course, it's about 50,000 students, more than 3,000 of academic staff, and about 30,000 of small and medium enterprises, which forms the Kaunas innovation ecosystem. And the topics which are implemented here are related, of course, with new materials, electronics, energy, food technologies, and chemical industry. Next, if I take a short overview of Kaunas University of Technology, so we have 9 faculties and 8 research institutes. The number of students are around 8,500, and number of academic staff is about 900. We have more than 300 PhD students. What's very important for us, so looking to the new European agenda, so it's gender equality. Of course, from the point of view of PhD students, it's around 50% are males, around 50% are females. But if we go to the different sciences, so in technological sciences, we have 64% of males, and in social sciences, we have 74% of the females. So in some fields, we need to adjust that equality, because in the nature sciences and humanities, the balance is equal in this case. The university provides 19 PhD programs. All PhD programs are provided in English, and the number of PhD candidates from the abroad to the current situation is about 24% of the total PhD students. And what I am proud, that our university is a leader among all institutions in Lithuania by participating in European Union Horizon 2020 program. So we have a lot of projects implemented among other Lithuanian institutions. Next, what is very important for us, it's university industry or university business cooperation. From 2012, we have established the Technology Transfer Office. In Lithuania, we called the National Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center. So the services which are provided by Kaunas University of Technology, you could see at the website apcisktu.edu, and this Technology Transfer Office acts as one gateway between academia and non-academia. The clients of the university are national and foreign enterprises, public institutions, and other organizations. And if we take a look to the path, we see that we got the requirements from the outside, non-academia. We match these requirements with the capacity of the university, as in research and innovation infrastructure, as regarded the knowledge capacity and human resources capacity. We negotiating the contract and implementing that contract. And after a short presentation of the university, now I would like to go to the opportunities. Opportunities which allows to reinforce the research and innovation at the universities. Of course, first of all, maybe it's the pandemic, because pandemic also is an opportunity to reorient our research, technology, and innovation policy, and of course the paths in this case. Next, what we could see, that maybe if you go to OECD data, you could see that maybe over the last 2 decades, a lot of funding was dedicated for research and development that was related with industrial research and development needs. And even it goes through the tax incentive. And also a lot of funding was assigned to the research in universities. The pandemic gives to us a new approach, and we need to redirect the public support to societal challenges. And in this case, maybe what we could face in the future, that the main elements of science, technology, and innovation policy reform should tackle the challenges of sustainability, inclusivity, and resiliency. So what will push universities? That means this will push universities to mix to the target social challenges. I think to reform the PhD training, that it supports the PhD graduates' career path diversity, and of course, implement global solutions for global problem in this case. And the last may be the transdisciplinary approaches are needed to deal with complex, multi-faced problems. And I think what should do universities in the future, that means to promote transdisciplinarity. The next one, we're also regarded with opportunities. We see that COVID-19 demonstrated the need for scientific advice, that is multidisciplinarity, and plus additionally transparent to build the society trust in this case. Next, what was mentioned, sustainability, resiliency, and equity changes. Call for socio-technical transitions. That means not only one electronics or just IT technologies, but we need to match with other disciplines in this case. So we need to co-produce useful knowledge, including citizens, including businesses, industry, and even the governments of our countries in this case. And regarding transdisciplinarity, we see that it faces obstacles requiring the reform of funding even inside the universities. And what we need that research which promotes the knowledge co-production at the scale. I put here a short introduction of the transdisciplinarity research, and we see that it features both interdisciplinarity and co-creation with actors outside of academia in this case. When we're talking about the co-creation, that means co-design of the research and co-production of the knowledge. As you can see here from this figure, we see that several related modes of research overlaps here with transdisciplinarity research, but do not necessarily incorporate both interdisciplinarity and co-creation. And we see that team science, convergence research are characterized by the integration of different disciplines, whereas action research and operational research and development research very often involve co-creation. Citizen science can be defined more or less broadly, but not necessarily involve either interdisciplinarity or co-creation. The overlap between different terminology and concepts can be a significant obstacle to effective communication and collaboration across different communities. So indeed, that transdisciplinarity research sometimes mistakenly identified as being exclusive to the social sciences. No, it's not true. And in that case, we have disregarded as potential approach by those coming from other domains. Looking to the future, to the initiatives which comes from Horizon Europe, from European Research Council, the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, we see that transdisciplinarity research will be dominated, and even the nature sciences, technological sciences, we will be pushed to cooperate with social sciences and humanities to solve the challenges which we are facing. Also, we could use that picture when we talk about the innovation community. In this case, we could tell that modern instantiation of the long-standing partnership between science and technology. So what we have related frameworks, including responsible research and innovation, open innovation, and social innovation. Each of these methods has different aims and, of course, focuses, but we share similar fundamental assumptions, including about validity of different knowledge sources, and of course, importance of complexity and the need to engage with the knowledge and values of relevant stakeholders. The last opportunity I would like to mention, that's opportunity related with artificial intelligence agenda at the Europe. Recently published, the European Commission coordinated plan on artificial intelligence foresees that we need to align even at the university level the artificial intelligence policy that addresses the global challenges. Next, we need to invest in artificial intelligence to lead in development and uptake of human-centric, trustworthy, secure, and sustainable AI technologies. We need to engage with industry and general public in development and uptake of AI technologies. Of course, when we're talking about the artificial intelligence, we see where we could apply that knowledge. And of course, it was related with climate and environment. It is related with the improvement of the health. It was related with the robotics and automation. It was related with public sector. It was related with safer mobility and less polluting mobility using the AI, and of course, sustainable agriculture. In this case, the plan foresees the building strategic leadership in these sectors I mentioned, and of course, inclusion of green artificial intelligence component in university and higher education, artificial intelligence curricula, and of course, other training courses and programs. The next one, we see how fast changed the higher education sector with deep technological and structural change that affected teaching, learning, research. And that was accelerated particularly by COVID-19 pandemic. And if we look to the future, when we're talking about the strategy for the universities, we see that higher education sector is key for finding solutions toward a sustainable and of course more digital future, and focus on inclusion, innovation, digital and green readiness, of course, international competitiveness, and fundamental academic values with high ethical principles, and of course, employment and employability. We have to act here at the Europe regarding the European research area for research and innovation. If we take a look to this document, we see that it emphasizes the fact that research in European Union is lagging behind in patent performance. What does it mean? That means we need to switch from the research output, how to produce the technologies, how these technologies goes into industry and business. So the key competence in European research and innovation area should be the entrepreneurial culture. That will be the focus in this case. And what we need to do here, we need to focus on translating the research and innovation results into sustainable business. Next one, what is very important, that new European research area for research and innovation supports the Sustainable Development Goals. And I think all universities which performing research and innovation should care about these SDGs. And the next one, what is very important, we need to incorporate the principle of scientific and ethical integrity, so to prevent the losses in human health, funding, and even scientific failure. So what I could summarize, that it is necessary for the universities to bring closer the four missions. That means education, or research, innovation, and service to society, by creating the knowledge ecosystem approach. How we could implement this strategy for the universities? One of the initiatives promoted by the European Commission, it was the European Universities Initiative. At current moment, we have an example of pan-European cooperation to address global challenges in 41 pilot European universities. In all these 41 pilot, more than 280 higher education institutions across all parts of European Union are participating. And what's important here, that this European universities is an ambitious long-term vision to build the universities of the future in Europe here. And what we see, that this is ambition to build transnational alliances of higher education institutions and to develop long-term structural and strategic cooperation, which will be based on common values, agreed principles, and of course, with the shared goal of achieving sustainability. What's important here, even if we take a look to Horizon Europe program, we will see that there will be available calls to build up the capacity of higher education institutions on where research and innovation dimensions to prepare best for next call on Horizon Europe. And of course, to support collaborations with more experienced counterparts in order to access the excellence and to broaden the talents capacity in this case. What's important here, that researchers from around the Europe, regardless of their geographical location, will be able to produce and have access to excellent results, because it will give an opportunity to attract and retain talented researchers. And I think this is the key for knowledge diffusion across the universities. Next, what's important here, that we could reinforce the role of the universities as central actors in innovation ecosystems, and very strongly including or growing the academia business cooperation and transfer of knowledge, and of course, knowledge valorization in this case. Incentives for researchers will be to pursue a career outside the academia using the different schemes. It could be some internships, it could be short-term visit, or even not only to the industry, but also to the business. And looking to this, The alliances, these 41 pilot alliances, should develop a joint long-term strategies for education, research, and innovation. And of course, the strategy should match and give some result that means structural and sustainable impact at all levels of each institution which participate in these alliances. One example I would like to present you is the ECIU University, one of the alliance in which participates Kaunas University of Technology. We, together with other 11 universities across the Europe and associated partner from the Mexico, implementing the ECIU University, which together combines about 300,000 students, about 27,000 of academic staff, and about 500 research groups in the Alliance. The goal of this Alliance is, first of all, to create the open community. And open community means that we need to create model of challenge-based innovation, research and education, and we need to integrate the needs of society, research and industry for personalized learning in this case. Of course, the ECIU University focuses on one sustainable development goal, that means 11th sustainable goal, smart cities and communities. And the idea is to help to Europe to achieve the sustainability. Of course, the leading principles are the needs of individuals, stakeholders, while stimulating the collaboration in innovation, learning, and research. What we are going to do, we are going to establish a hybrid digitally enabled space, which will allow communities to collaborate across boundaries. Keep in mind, we are around Europe. The next one will be digital transformation. That will be the core of ECIU University, and that should enable innovations in education and research. What we are going to do, we are going to apply cutting-edge technologies broadly, such as artificial intelligence, big data. We are going to test new concept in this case. And of course, what we are going again, we are going to exploit far-reaching data-driven opportunities. That means we are going to open the data for each other. Next, the ECIU University, it will be the innovative test bed of combined European education and research area in this case. For staff or for researcher, it will be a flexible and agile testing ground for novel research, education, and innovation outside national boundaries. Of course, it will be breeding ground for new research models, a space for conducting open research and innovation, and of course, connecting with multiple stakeholders at different level in this case. What we see that cost structure and revenue streams looking to 2030 should reflect the fundamental changes in the role of the future university in society and novel approach to the roles of learners, researchers, and stakeholders. The next one is innovative co-creation model that relies on three factors. its full utilization of data and digitalization at the functioning European ecosystem with membership, and of course, the strategy based on demand and supply in this case. And what we're doing in research, it's virtual research institute. That should be breeding ground for citizen science with long-term strategic collaboration with society and of course, industrial partners and citizens. What challenges we're facing? Maybe not only the ECIU University, but also other alliances which are participating in these initiatives. Of course, these challenges are related not only with education, but also with research and innovation specific topics in this case. First of all, it's restrictive national legislation regarding the obligations of double or single enrollment of students and PhD candidates in this case. Next, it's very difficult to offer attractive and flexible academic and researchers' careers. You know, we're acting around the Europe in this case, and each country has its own regulation regarding the social rights, remuneration, research opportunities, and etc. Next, we see some constraints regarding to the full implementation of the open science. It's in global case, from open data, open science, open research, open innovation. Next, it's very difficult to establish sustainable connections to the external environments. That means open ecosystem approach in this case, but we need time to do this. Of course, insufficient support for incentives for knowledge and technology transfer. Yes, we know that in every country, universities are pushed to attract more and more funding from business and industry to have not only patents, but also to license these patents and to have income from the licenses. Of course, staff involvement, depending from the culture, research culture at each country. So the research are based in the research groups and PIs of research groups. Of course, we having the different interests to participate or just to think or judge the opportunities could give this pan-European collaboration. And the last but not least, I think the level of funding not matching the ambition level, and of course, too short term in this case. So we are pushed to be a sustainable one, as sustainable consortium after 2 or 3 years. So it's a big challenge for universities. Now I would like to switch to the challenge-based approach in innovation and research. Of course, when we're talking what is the challenge, any of you could tell where research by itself is a challenge in this case. Yes, and we could agree with you that it's a challenge, but let's look a little bit different in this case. Of course, the good example of the challenge is a pandemic in this case. It's not a problem, it's a challenge, because for the problem, we could apply some solutions, some known knowledges we have, and to solve that problem. In as example of pandemic, so we need to create new knowledge, to apply that knowledge very fast and to see, does it work? Or we need again to redirect our research path to get another new knowledge in this case. What we have regarding the challenge-based learning, so we know that it's well defined. We know what need to do learners, teachers, and how we need to collaborate in finding solution. When we're switching to the challenge-based research and innovation, it's a little bit new in this case. Why? If we take a look, we see that we need new knowledge before the solution can be realized in this case. And regarding the innovation, so we need exclusively to focus on creating the value. And of course, not only creating the value, but also applying the results we get to the different stakeholders, maybe. And what's important here, when we're talking about the challenge-based approach in research and innovation, it's collaboration between all stakeholders. That means solution providers, adopters, challenge owners, and all these stakeholders need to contribute to these challenges. Now regarding the research versus innovation, what we see that research is more about getting new knowledge, and innovation is about transforming knowledge into a product or service. That means creating value. In other words, where research is investment of money or investment or funding, and innovation is how the knowledge are converted into the money again. And if we take a look at research versus learning in this case, so learning is about acquiring new knowledge, and doing research implies learning. Learning doesn't imply doing research in this case. What makes a good challenge? Let's say if we have enough resources and a solution is readily available. That means if we would like to solve a real challenge, we need resources. But in case we have resources, it doesn't guarantee that we are going to solve the challenge. Of course, we are not talking about that, how much does it cost in this case. For the challenges, let's say we have enough money, it will not bring us closer to solution, because the true challenge goes beyond what money can buy in this case. And what we could have as consequences here. In case for research, the key is to identify the unknown, of course, new knowledge. And for innovation, the key is to identify the value of potential solution in this case. What are characteristics of the challenges? Of course, it could be socially or business or economically relevant and urgent in this case. So all stakeholders need to recognize the significance of the challenge in this case, and keeping in mind that very often we have that there are other challenges. One challenge could have less priority, we have limited resources, and we could assume that many other challenges are more urgent in this case. Easy to explain to diverse audience, that means challenges well understood in this case. So it's the poorly understood challenges may lead to irrelevant solutions. The COVID-19 may be a good example of the challenge is well understood. The diverse set of stakeholders is needed to solve the challenge in this case, and we need to involve the citizens, to identify the problems. We need to involve the researchers, business analysts to analyze and resolve the problems. We need to involve the engineers, consultants, and maybe policymakers to design and implement solutions. And of course, again, we need to involve the citizens, which directly works with the solutions in practice and provides the feedbacks. Next one, the sense that the challenge can be solved and there are truly open questions in the case of the research. In this case, so we see that the sense of solvability doesn't imply that we are dealing with the only applied research. It could indicate that we can identify a potential path toward a solution in this case. And what's left here, the degree of wickedness in this case that makes the challenge perhaps too complex for participating parties to handle. And you know that degree, its missions seem to be often wicked problems in that case. The next one, what characteristics could we put regarding the innovation? So in this one, challenge requires no new knowledge. So open problems are engineering and or design problems. In this case, a sense that there is a complex value problem in this case. I'm looking to the time and I'm going to be a little bit faster. How we could identify the challenge? Of course, maybe the main problem in research is identifying the challenge. But looking to the different stakeholders, what we could say that academic staff, that means researchers, teachers, we have some experience by identifying the challenges, of course, with the support of the industry, business, and other stakeholders. If we take a look to the current challenge-based research description, so people are going to talk about the big idea, but the big ideas are questioned in this case. Of course, from an academic point of view, the big ideas are formulated in research programs. The research programs very often are formulated by research funding organizations. In some cases, of course, they could be for internal use, for example, lab on a chip, ethics by design, hybrid artificial intelligence, and etc. But to have a big idea, of course, is good, but having a good big idea, it will be more harder than just a big idea. Why? Because a good big idea is one that can be used for deriving a good challenge. And if we go into the solution of the challenge, what we could see that, of course, it's like a puzzle, and we need to use the divide and conquer approach in this case. That means to split the puzzle into the small parts and try to solve that puzzle. The next one, how we could manage. So we could manage it vertically, horizontally, or mix of them. The verticality means that different actors or teams that solving the challenge. Later, we need to match the expertise of these teams. And of course, the main problem is how to bring the different sub-solutions together. In case of the horizontal teams, we're using definitely this multidisciplinary approach. And the main problem here is that maximal diversity also demands a lot of efforts to understand each other language. The next one, there is a lot of literature what is related with research methods and techniques that could be applied to challenge-based research. And maybe the main tips here, how to form the teams, how to involve the stakeholders, how to articulate the challenge, how to create the plan. That means how all these stakeholders are going to act for one goal, and of course, to focus on producing the final result in this case. And when we are going to address challenge, what we need to do in the research programs, so we need to address the topic, which has a lot of unanswered questions. We need to focus on knowledge development. We need to focus on the theme. We need to focus who is participating and which stakeholders representing. And of course, we need to take care about a lot of sub-problems in this case. The next one, can we expand the criteria for challenge-based research projects to the programs? The answer is yes, in that case, and criteria for good challenges hold for programs as well as for the project. I'm looking to the time. I'm sorry, I'm going a little bit to skip some part of my presentation regarding the cooperation between the different institutions in this pilot program and what is related with challenge-based research. First of all, what I would like to add, in case we have very good definition for challenge-based learning, so the statement of challenge-based learning is in sharp contrast to the criteria we set up for challenge-based research in this case. The role of the stakeholders, it differs, and they could be challenge owners, solution providers, or adapters. The description of the citizen science from the European Commission, you will see here how we are going to engage the citizens. From point of view of ECIU University, what we're talking about the citizen science, we're saying that, okay, the citizens also could have additional roles. That means it's enforcer, self-tester, and requester for help. So we would like to expand the roles of the citizens. And I would like to finish my presentation just with a question. Where do we want to go? And showing you the picture from our new advertising program to the electronic, attracting the students to the electronic program. So where we would like to go into this tunnel of light. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, do you have any questions from audience?
Okay. Maybe I have one.
Okay.
We had heard a lot about challenge, but I suppose scientists sometimes are trying to avoid challenge because any challenge may become a headache. So is there any recommendation how to avoid or how to eliminate possible headache? And even if we participate in international programs, how to reduce possible risk, and that challenge will motivate scientists working on the project for the whole period. So that the question was mainly about headache.
Thank you for the question. It's a very good question. But I would like to focus more not on the challenge regarding the research. Because if we are looking to forthcoming programs, especially from research funding organizations, we will see that always be related with the missions the European Union are going to implement, and the missions are related with the challenges, how to solve the challenges. But what you are asking, I will more focus on the risk management, because the challenge is not by itself the challenge in research, but sometimes when we have the very big team which implements the research in the project, for example, the risk is how we are going to manage the relationship between different stakeholders. Doesn't matter it's researchers, business, or society members included into the project team. So the main challenge is here, the communication between the different stakeholders when you implementing the project, giving the direct action plan for each member of the project regarding from an institutional point of view, putting the responsibilities, putting the deliveries, and of course, communication. And here the main role plays the project leader, the team leader, who is responsible how he or she is going to manage the project. So agree, but still now, this is the biggest challenge from point of view of our university.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. More questions?
Hello, Darius. May I have a question?
Yes, please, welcome.
Thank you very much, Professor Leonas, for this very comprehensive and teaching talk. My question is, how can we act to do correct exams nowadays due to this pandemic? Because to do safe exams is a big challenge nowadays. Your talk was more than comprehensive than my question, but this question is a challenge for me. That's why I just wanted to hear from you. What do you think? What can we do?
It doesn't touch the idea of challenge-based learning in this case, but your question is related to challenge-based learning. You know, just maybe 1 or 2 years ago, at a lot of universities, we're not very wide used, for example, Moodle or other platforms, which allows for us to check the knowledge. One good example from the experience of our university, I could tell, so it was very fast grow by using the Moodle system, by transferring all subjects into the Moodle, and of course, by preparing the, let's say, test for half-term examination and the final examination for the students. And this test, which consists maybe from 40 to 60 questions, as for example, for final examination, just allow for teacher to check the knowledge of each student, because when you have tete-a-tete discussion, of course, you are limited how much question you could ask and you could discuss, just limited by the time in this case. In the model, when you are applying to a test, you could give for a test, for example, 90 minutes, and you could look how each of the students answering to these questions, and the system automatically gives the evaluation from the student knowledge in this case, and what's left for the teacher just to see what is amount or what is the influence of the final exam on the total mark of the subject in this case. So I would like to encourage all of the lectures to apply and to use the digital capacities we have at universities, because it brings even from our part to the students that it will be not the opinion of the lecturer, he or she likes or doesn't like that student, because just the system evaluates the knowledge. And idea of how we could promote in the further looking to the examination, especially online examination, to apply some artificial intelligence method at the beginning of the course to identify the knowledge of each student and to create a separate path, learning path in the subject for especially for that student, that any student at the end of the course have the same level of skills and competences the model, the subject are going to give. But it's our idea in ECIU University, what we're trying to achieve.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. More questions? Okay, Wladek.
Okay, just maybe thank you for interesting topic and presentation, because it is in some way in line with my presentation, as you could maybe notice, because this is about the communication, you know, between different groups, between different specialization and so on. In academia, we have the tendency to build the boundaries, and I think that it's important to create some meeting place where the students or researchers of different backgrounds and interests can meet and discuss, because there's sometimes this hermetic language stop to make some obstacles to communicate. Do you have any idea how in your place you can create such, let's say, place of meeting people of different backgrounds and interests and so on, that they can apparently can find something and be more creative? Do you have anything to say about it?
Thank you for the question. I'm not went deeper in my presentation when I talk about the virtual research institute. Here we have, let's say, a challenge, how to bring on one arena the researchers from the 12 universities across Europe, how to bring students and how to bring the industry and business partners of each university to one arena in this case. In any case, our vision or our goal is to create the digital platform which will be the meeting place, collaboration place for the communities of each university in this case. But before we are going to move to this digital collaboration arena, we truly understand that we cannot switch from one level to another level just jumping. It must be a way of evolution. So first of all, we need to increase the mobility of the PhD students, postdoctoral researchers, and even researchers, that each research group at different universities will be familiar, at least personally, face-to-face, know the research and innovation infrastructure, know the research culture, when we could jump to the digital arena. Of course, in the case of pandemics, it's a little bit challenging, but we hope that at the autumn of this year, or maybe at the beginning of next year, we will be able to do that. So from today's point of view, it's very important just face-to-face meeting. At, for example, here at the conference, we're having the online conference, but you truly understand that face-to-face conference, and especially after meetings after the conference, sometimes they are more fruitful than just only seeing each other on the Zoom.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? If there are no questions, thank you, Leonas, for your presentation. Thank you for all participants in discussion. And now Darius shortly give some remarks for future our plans.
Okay. Thanks. So I would like to thank you again for both invited speakers for their presentations and for discussions. And I would like to remind that we are going to have lunch break, not in the hotel, not in the conference place, but it will take 45 minutes. And after that, we will have the first session of the presenters. And it will be electronics, and I would like to invite you to join and to discuss as well. And today we have 2 sessions, and tomorrow we have 2 parallel sessions at once, so you can choose which you want and join via Zoom. I would recommend not to watch over YouTube, but to join and to discuss. So let's go to have lunch, and thank you for joining to the conference.